Hey, it's Chef Carla. I'm here with Wolfie and Alistair, and they're gonna help me make French Madeleines. All right, so typically you use these pans, which is a shell design. Those are really fun. Yes, the Valentine's Day one. We're going to use this one, which has the hearts, okay?
Yeah, hearts.
Still has a shell design, but it's a little more fun. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to butter and flour your pans properly. The easiest way to butter and flour your pans is I like to get the stick of butter and I leave the wrapper halfway on and kind of peel it down to protect my fingers. And just run a little bit of butter in each of these molds. So you want to make sure that the butter gets in all those little crevices. So I'm going to use a paper towel, and in all the little folds of the design, I'm going to run my finger with the butter just to make sure it's completely coated.
Yeah.
What you want is for your cookie to slide right out when it comes out of the oven. So once you have that done, you're gonna put some flour in your pan. This is just like if you were going to butter and flour a cake pan.
The flour.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna put this
Can I put
kind
some
of
too?
all over. Yeah, do you wanna put some in? And just kind of sprinkle it. All right, so now what you're gonna do is you're just gonna kind of use gravity to go all the different directions to make sure the flour gets all over the pan. I usually do this over the sink to make sure I don't make too much of a mess. At this point, I have 4 eggs in my KitchenAid mixer and I have my whisk attachment. I'm gonna pull this up and I need 2/3 a cup of sugar. So I'm gonna let you guys, you can do one and you can do one, okay?
1 cup
All right,
of
so
sugar coming right up.
I don't have a 2/3 a cup, so I'm gonna use 1/3 of a cup 2 times. All right, so Alistair, you can take that. You're gonna pour it right in there.
Can I pour some in too?
Yes, you can do the next one.
That's a lot of sugar.
Do you think it's a lot of sugar?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna add 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Salt over pours almost always, so I usually do it over another container so that my batter will not be salty. So at this point, you wanna make sure to incorporate a lot of air into your eggs. You want this on high for 8 minutes. I know it sounds like a lot. It's gonna feel like an eternity, but I'm telling you, you can't skip this step. This cookie has a very airy, spongy texture to it, and there's no baking soda, there's no baking powder. All of the leavening agent comes from the air that we're gonna incorporate into the eggs. It's also, you start slow, you go a little faster. It's also a great opportunity to have a dance party. Ready? Okay, I have been whisking the eggs for 8 minutes. My baking assistants, Alistair and Wolfie, are upstairs eating pretzels, so I'm gonna finish this recipe alone. So at this point, this is going to have doubled in volume. It's a nice pale yellow color, and then there's tons of bubbles in it, which shows you how much air has been incorporated. I don't want to stir this too rapidly as I add the rest of the ingredients in to deflate any of that beautiful air that we've just incorporated in. So I just have a few more ingredients. I have a teaspoon of vanilla, get the good stuff. And then also I'm gonna do a teaspoon of zested lemon. So what I'm gonna use is a microplane, and you don't want the bright white, you just want this yellow outer skin. So I very rapidly sort of turn my lemon as I'm using the microplane. And you really only need about a teaspoon. So it's typically around a whole lemon. Okay, that looks great. So I have a teaspoon of lemon zest going in. And from now on, I want to use a rubber spatula and do a folding method, which is very gentle. You kind of go around the side and then through the middle. So you want to incorporate your lemon zest and vanilla. And then we just have 2 more ingredients. We have a cup of flour. It's not very much. Make sure you fluff your flour, meaning you scoop it and dump it a couple of times. And then I'm going to use the flat side of a butter knife and go backwards and then all the way across, just to make sure I have a perfectly measured cup. I'm gonna add that in along with a stick of butter. So this is a 1/2 cup of butter that I melted on the stove and then I let it cool. Unlike other recipes like we did last week with the French crepes, that had a lot of cold liquid that I could pour the butter into and it wouldn't affect the eggs. With this recipe, there's so many eggs, you really need your butter to cool before you add it in. And now you just finish folding. Unlike a lot of batters that you can make and then put in your refrigerator or use at another time, this batter you really need to use immediately. You want to make sure that the butter doesn't sink to the bottom before you fill your pans. Okay, so now we're ready to fill our pans. Because we've incorporated so much air, these are really gonna puff up and get very spongy in the baking process. So we wanna make sure that we don't overfill it. You just want it to be shy of the edge. With this type of spoon, it's probably gonna be 1 to 2 of these, somewhere in the ballpark of a tablespoon of batter. What's so great about these cookies is that they're very versatile. So I'm actually gonna add a little bit of coloring to this batter to make these pink. And this would be so cute for Valentine's Day. You can also go a lot of different directions with flavor. You could dip these in chocolate, you could use frosting, you could make a ganache and maybe use some sprinkles. Sky is the limit. All right, so I've made this a really nice red color. And I'm gonna fill my heart-shaped pan. Again, these are gonna puff up, so I don't want them to go all the way to the top. I just kind of want them to go shy of the ridge. These are gonna bake at 375 for about 7 minutes. You really just want them to get barely golden brown around the edges. Okay, so how you know that these are finished is when you push them lightly, they spring back and they should come right out of the pan. So I have this beautiful shell design on the back, so you turn them over. They're so pretty. Don't they look pretty?
They look like hard shells.
All right, traditionally, how these are served is with a dusting of powdered sugar, but you can do just about anything you would like. You could use cocoa powder. You could also dip these in chocolate if you would like to.
Yummy.
But we're just gonna give these a nice dusting. They look so pretty. And we want them to have just a little bit of browning on the back side. Okay, so I think we're ready to do a taste test, okay? I'm gonna get a heart one. Wolfie, what do you want? Do you want one of these? You want a heart one? Alistair, you grab one.
I'm gonna get this.
All right, ready? Cookie cheers. Cookie cheers. Okay, good.